everyone, welcome to another episode of Spiritual Superpowers. For today's video, we are going to do a pick a card reading. We haven't done one of these in a long time, and a lot of our viewers really like them. We are in December now and heading into the holidays, and a lot of people, are kind of stressed this time of year, and a little guidance is always helpful. So we're going to start off by lighting a candle, doing a little smudge, and then we'll get right into the card readings. So looking at this candle is infused with gemstones, and it's for protection. Everyone needs a little protection, especially this time of year. All right, and then we're also going to light this sweetgrass and sage bundle so we can get rid of any negative energy and bring in positive energy at the same time. But remember, when you smudge, that you want to bring intention into your smudge. So we're bringing in positive energy. We're letting the negative energy dissipate. And we'll put that smudge bundle in my indigenous polar bear mug. So there we go. All right, so let's get right to the readings. So we have 3 decks that we're going to use. The first deck is by Denise Linn, who's an amazing shaman, and the deck's called Sacred Destiny Oracle. And the next deck is called the Shaman's Dream Oracle by Alberto, Villoldo, and Colette, Baron-Reid, which a lot of people know. And Alberto is a shaman as well. And the third deck is Divine Animals Oracle by Stacey, Demarco. And the interesting thing about this deck is, although it's about animals, it's actually meant to give messages to people. So let's get right into it. And I'm going to create 3 piles. So just shuffling and using my intuition to pick the cards that will create each pile. I'm going to pick 2 cards from each deck, and then we'll go through them. We have 3 piles here. I want you to pick pile number 1, pile number 2, or pile number 3. But before you do that, I want you to ask a question. Okay, what do you need to know going into this holiday season? So think about that a little bit, and then pick your pile. And don't belabor it, just pick whatever you feel drawn towards. All right, so did you pick your pile? All right, let's go through them. So if you pick pile number 1, we have quite a few interesting messages. So if we start with the Sacred Destiny cards, we start off with a nice animal card, all marine life. And the message is wisdom. You really want to use wisdom when you're deciding things or dealing with people or just looking ahead to the future. And I think some of us tend to rush into decisions without thinking about it, without putting a lot of wisdom into the things that we do. It might be a good time to do some more introspective work to let that wisdom come out. Okay, and then the next card from the Sacred Destiny deck is Courage. So I feel like anyone that picked this deck is tending to maybe be in a little bit of a challenging time. I know Dawn and I are. So sometimes we need to just, step out and show that courage and, do things that we definitely would be afraid to do otherwise. And I think if you choose in the direction of courage, you can never go wrong. All right, and the next card is from my new deck, actually, one of my new favorite decks, called the Shaman's Dream. And this card is the Vanishing Mirror, Ego Sublimation. We need our egos to help us navigate for day-to-day things, but sometimes our egos can take over. So think about maybe what is controlling your ego and let it step to the side from time to time. So I think this card is telling us to go inside, do some more meditation, and see what comes out of that. All right, and then our next card, again from the Shaman's Dream Oracle, is an interesting one. It's called Crown Games, the right use of power. And how many of us tend to use our power wisely? So I think, again, that takes a little bit of introspection to choose properly. And if you choose power in the right way, you can never go wrong. And then finally, from our Divine Animals Oracle cards, it's a very interesting card. It's the Snake card. And a lot of people don't like snakes, but snakes are really amazing creatures. They signify rebirth. They signify creation. And the snake is an amazing card to come up, especially as we're going towards the end of the year. So think about maybe what in your life needs to change and start working towards that for the new year. So I hope that this helped for all of you that chose pile number 1. And now we'll get right to pile number 2. Okay, so for pile number 2, the first card is going forward. So this card is telling us that we need to move in a forward direction, not stay stagnant, especially as we're going into 2023. So forward momentum is a good thing. Sometimes we can just get too stagnated, too stuck, and it's not always the best place to be. Sometimes we need to go in and evaluate, but sometimes we need to take action. And in this card, I think that's what it's telling us to do. The next card is embracing. So not only do we need to move forward, but we need to embrace that momentum. I mean, a lot of us tend to question when we're taking new directions or doing new things, but those two cards together really tell me that this forward momentum and embracing that is what needs to happen for those of you that picked this pile. And it's really interesting that the next card that came up from the Shaman's Dream is the Dust Devil. And the Dust Devil is moving out of stagnation, and that's what we were just talking about. So sometimes it's good to go inside, sit still, evaluate, and sometimes we just need to move forward and make changes in our life. So for those of you that picked this pile, there's a definite direction here. The next card is a beautiful card. It's called the Magician's Sword. And it's telling you to be confident in your magic. all of us have magical abilities, but some of us tend to be a little less confident with it. So this card is telling us to be confident and keep moving forward and use those magical powers and develop those magical powers. And finally, from our Divine Animal Oracle deck, we have the Bull. And the Bull is all about sacrifice. And sacrifice is an interesting card because sacrifice can talk about sacrificing your former beliefs and moving in a new direction, which is what all our other cards talked about. So, something to think about as well. So, for those of you that picked this pile, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it gave you some direction. Okay, and finally for pile number 3, the first card we have is New Beginnings, which is amazing going into 2023. It's maybe calling us to look at things a little differently than we have in the past. And maybe it's time to start a new chapter. I think those of you that picked pile number 3 maybe feel this way already, and it's time to step out and just reinvent yourself. The next card is Simplicity. So when we're starting out with a new beginning or a new chapter, you want to kind of keep it simple because, you know, as human beings, we tend to overcomplicate things. You can always kind of ramp up as time goes on, but just start that new chapter, keep it simple, keep it going, and you can't really go wrong. The next card is really interesting. It's amazing how all these cards go together. It's called The Crossing, or Initiation. So initiation makes me think that, again, you're starting a new chapter, a new beginning, and I'm quite excited for those of you that picked this pile because getting into new things is always a fun place to be. The next card is The Farther Gate, Bold Step Forward. So I think although you're starting some new things, you're keeping things simple, there's going to be a time where you'll know that you can take that next step forward and just embrace this new beginning in a wholehearted way. And finally, our last card, the Divine Animal Oracle card, is the Red Fox, which is honestly one of my favorite cards. We have red foxes all around our house. I can see from my little home office a fox stand every spring, and I can see all the babies running around and getting big, and they run around all over the place, and they're just so beautiful. But foxes talk a lot about strategy and being smart. So as you're stepping into this new chapter of your life, occasionally you need to just take a moment and make sure you're being smart and strategic, and then you can't go wrong. So anyway, I hope that this helped answer your question. And it's interesting how all 3 piles today really had very specific themes. And those themes, I hope, give you guidance, not only for the rest of the year, but for 2023. So thank you from myself and Dawn. I hope you got a lot out of these readings. If you have any comments, please add them to the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so. Give us the thumbs up, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Bye-bye.